Spearheading the charge into the next generation, DICE and EA aim to deliver a revolution through Levolution. Fueled by the new Frostbite 3 engine, Battlefield 4 hopes to prove its powerful tech through a campaign that strives for emotional intensity and multiplayer that significantly improves upon a secure foundation. Before we dive in, it should be clear that we're focusing entirely on the next-gen versions of Battlefield 4 due to specific coverage restrictions and what we're allowed to actually play for ourselves. This review will only cover the PlayStation 4 and PC versions of the game. For our initial impressions of the single-player campaign on Xbox One, check out our Battlefield 4 Xbox One preview.
Burn those motherfuckers!
The campaign straps you into the boots of Sergeant Wrecker, a member of the U.S. Spec Ops Squad Tombstone. You're placed in command after your team leader is killed in action during a covert mission in Azerbaijan. Shortly after, tensions between the U.S., Chinese, and Russian governments rise following the assassination of a Chinese presidential candidate, with all fingers pointing at the U.S.
Who are these VIPs?
They're very important people. Significant woman and her husband.
From there, the plot provides only vague context of the combat scenarios you're placed in, and suspicious characters withhold vital information so the game can shoehorn in a very weak plot twist that ends up undermining the entire conflict altogether. Of course, you're not here to ask questions, you're just here to do the shooting. Across the 7-hour campaign, most combat scenarios boil down to monotonous whack-a-mole gunfights, as you'll often enter broad but sectioned-off areas with only one entry point, mowing down wave after wave of enemies as you slowly cross a field towards one possible exit. To its credit, though, there are a few ideas that take you beyond simply popping off innumerable headshots. Weapon caches grant you access to any weapon you use throughout the campaign, allowing the opportunity to replay missions using firearms you didn't have access to before. You're also equipped with a special set of binoculars that let you tag enemies and instruct your squad to attack specific targets. That would have been a nice change to the familiar stop-and-pop formula if your squad's barrage of bullets could actually distract or suppress your enemies to create a flanking opportunity. Instead, omniscient enemy soldiers always remain fixated on the player, continually firing at you and dropping perfectly thrown grenades under your nose. It's pretty much business as usual. When you're required to interact with something or approach a specific point to trigger an event, the game will essentially put itself on hold until you do that thing you're supposed to do. Watching characters remain entirely idle during dangerous and time-sensitive situations completely deflates any illusion of urgency. The way the campaign plays out is generally predictable and underwhelming, but the level of destructibility within the game environment is remarkable. Sparks, glass, rubble, and everything in between fill the air and clutter the ground in every firefight. Light dynamically illuminates nearby objects and structures crumbling to the ground, the frame rate stays smooth, and the combined effect is generally impressive. Another notable feat is the game's ability to occasionally vault the ever-present obstacle that is the Uncanny Valley. Much of the time, the cast appear to be awkward puppets, but during certain moments, their faces and movements can be convincingly lifelike. Coupled with the exceptional VO delivery from the voice cast, particularly Michael K. Williams as Irish, these scenes immerse you more fully than the story and scenario actually seem to warrant. Blink though, and it's gone.
Let's go! Wrecker, take the wheel!
While the campaign's impressive technical showcase might tease our imagination with the possibilities for other EA franchises like Mass Effect or Dragon Age, it won't distract players too long from Battlefield's phenomenal and impossible to ignore multiplayer. This is where players should be spending their time, and DICE has directly addressed the learning curve with the inclusion of the Test Range, a small island where every weapon and vehicle is readily available for you to try. The area also includes stationary and moving targets, as well as dummy air drones to facilitate aerial target practice. It's a much better alternative to flight school taking place in the middle of a ranked match with an experienced enemy pilot handing out marks. Sinking our teeth deep into both the PlayStation 4 and PC versions, we have to admit, we're impressed by how closely the PS4 matches a PC cranked up to the highest settings. We could only notice minor discrepancies in shadows and textures, and it's a marvel to finally have the fully realized Battlefield experience on a console. 64 players running at a smooth 60 frames per second. With dynamic battlefields, the new commander and spectator modes, and an expanded and refined collection of weapons and vehicles, Battlefield 4's multiplayer component is genuinely exciting. By far, the most notable feature new to multiplayer are the dramatically changing battlefield conditions, typically surprising players with climactic events that significantly affect the entire map. Levolution can be triggered by any player within a match. While it may not provide a direct benefit to either team, these major alterations really do change the nature of the fight. For example, blowing up a leaky levee to flood a city that was once traversable by foot greatly prioritizes the use of sea vehicles, completely changing the way you approach objectives. It's like having a map swap in the middle of a match, and it's especially satisfying when you're the sneaky culprit behind it all. Familiar game types such as Conquest and Rush make a triumphant return, along with the worthy introduction of the new Obliteration mode, where teams fight over control of bombs randomly placed on the map, attempting to plant and detonate that bomb at an enemy base. Because the bomb's location is constantly visible to every player on the map, destroying all of your enemy's bases won't be accomplished without a fierce fight. Seeing so many players converge to contest a single point is a great change of pace from the typically spread-out focus of Battlefield's signature game types. In addition to the maximum 64 players in a match, 2 extra players can join a server as a team commander. By specifically choosing to join a match as a commander through the server browser, or by using your own tablet with the Battlelog app installed, commanders have full view of the map. They can issue orders to individual squads and provide useful support in the form of gunships that circle around designated areas and cruise missiles that can target a specific point on the map. Successfully aiding your team in destroying targets will still earn you points, so you don't need to put your career progression on hold. There are also 4 slots available for spectating the match, permitting access to an overhead map with a picture-in-picture window to view the first-person perspective of any player you select, as well as full-frame third- and first-person views for every player, and a free-roam camera with adjustable flying speeds. It's a fairly robust feature and nice to have for the first time in a Battlefield game.
我发现了敌军坦克，敌军坦克被我们发现了。
If you're in the camp that enjoyed the close quarters expansion to Battlefield 3, there are infantry-only deathmatch and domination modes that cater to tight corridor maps, such as the prison-themed Operation Locker. But if you're primarily in it for the signature feel of Battlefield with massive maps, varying roles, and vehicular combat, you might want to pass on these more confined, Twitch-based game types. Still, it's hard ignoring the fact that they're a surefire method to rapidly gathering points and quickly powering through the progression system. We're looking at you, Level Cap. But true to the series' mantra, Battlefield 4 maintains a strong emphasis on player roles and teamwork. Trying to capture points as a lone wolf simply won't do. The game most often rewards personal ingenuity and team coordination over simple reaction time. As long as you're contributing to your team's victory, you'll be making personal progress toward perks and unlocks. Whether you're scouring the map, healing and reviving teammates, playing Eye in the Sky to continually reveal and mark enemy players, or engaging in bombing runs over an enemy base, the sheer number of roles, players, and possibilities make any multiplayer match a sandbox of memorable moments. Battlefield 4 is a stout entry to the series and a strong addition to the PlayStation 4 launch lineup. As the first game to demonstrate the prowess of the Frostbite 3 engine, its explosive debut indicates a promising future for its technology. Gear up and strap in. Battlefield 4 sets the new standard for next-generation multiplayer.